Hi guys, welcome to the second video of this mega set of tutorials, and today what you're going to be learning is about how to use the layer manager, about the polygonal modeling, the concept of how polygonal modeling is done, the primitive objects, and also the transform tools. So how to transform the object that you create, like move it around, rotate, and scale. Right, first off, let me just talk about the concept of polygonal modeling. Okay, polygonal modeling is actually you use a set of primitive polygonal objects, right, and then you will use that to transform it into whatever object you want. Okay, for example, like this one. This is one of the primitive objects, which is the cube, or you can call it a box. All right, and you're going to use a set of tools to enhance this object, all right, and to further shape the object to become something that you want, something like this one. Okay, so at first this object starts out as a box, and then you can slowly shape it and make it look like this, or even more detailed objects, right? Like whatever you want to model. You want to model a table, you want to model window frames, you want to model doors or sofa, anything. All right, so I'm going to walk you through that in this whole course of tutorials. All right, so before we get into that, let's understand what is a polygonal model made of. Okay, so in this picture here, all right, for example, this is a polygonal model, right, and it consists of a lot of combined triangles, as you can see here. And in this and usually the polygonal model have it consists of 3 elements. All right, so 3 elements is, for example, like this one, vertex. So what is vertex? Vertex is at every point of a triangle, or maybe a four-sided polygons, you have a vertex, which is look like this. You don't see it here, but later you will see what I mean by that. All right, and then you have the edge. So edge is the line that connect two or 3 vertices together, right? So more than one vertex, you call it vertices. More than one edge, you call it edges. Then inside, when you have like a close field of all these edges and vertices, you will get a field polygon. In other application they call it face. In 3D Max you call it you still call it a polygon, right? So this surface here, that fields, which creates the existence of this model to have its shades, is what you call a polygon, right? But it consists of all these 3. All right, so that's the main concept. So just remember the 3 elements. All right, so you got the vertex, edge, or face, or polygons, all right, in the middle. Okay, let's bring to this. I'm gonna clear this up now. So where do we get access to the primitive objects? All right, so where to get it is actually at the command panel over here on your right side. So by default you have it view like this. The way 3D Max developer arrange the software is very systematically. All right, so you have like big tabs over here, and then inside the big tab you got your sub tab. Like for example, like this one here is the create. You can just hover your mouse there and just wait. See, it will tell you that's the create tab. So inside the create tab, you look one level lower. So these are the things that you can create. All right, so you can create geometrical shapes. You can create shapes, which is lines. All right, something similar like Adobe Illustrator, kind of like pen tools and all that. And then you got lights, you can create cameras, if you want helpers, something to help you with other stuff, and so on. So what we want is right now is to focus on the create tab, and under our geometry tab, and you'll see down here you have standard primitive. So this is the primitive that I mentioned. So these are the standard one. If you want more, you can click here and click extended primitives, and you have a different set of primitive down here, which you have hydra and oil tank and all these things that you can explore and just create it yourself. Right, so what we want is the standard primitives. So we got your box, which is the cube, sphere, cylinder, torus is like a donut, teapot is just something that they throw in, cone, right, those kind of things. Now let's see how we can create those primitive objects. Alright, so in video 1 you have learned how to navigate your viewport here. Okay, I haven't locked this yet. I have to go back and lock this. So I go to the front view, I go to customize, user interface, mouse, lock orbit, so I won't rotate the flat view here. Alright, now, so how to create a primitive object is very easy. Just select which one you want. For example, I click the box, and the most important part, if you want to create in the perspective view, you must make sure you look like isometrically down like this. Alright, and then you just draw the base of the cube. Alright, and then you just raise it up, and then once you finish, see you still using the box tool is still active. So if you still have it on, you can keep on creating more cubes with different shapes and sizes. Right, so if you want to get out of that, you can just right click your mouse button anywhere in the screen, and it should go out, and you won't be able to create any cube anymore until you turn it back on. Right, so I got too many cubes here. Right, if I want to select, I can just do a rectangular selection like this, and just hit delete to delete them. Select and delete. Alright, okay, then sphere, you just click and drag. Alright, make sure to right click anywhere there and to exit. Alright, now then you can try other things, cylinder, base, and things like that. Okay, now I'm going to delete this tree, and I'm going to show you how to I want to show you like what you should not do. Okay, like just now I mentioned you need to like rotate it this way in the perspective view, but let's say what if you view it this way and you just create at this empty void of the 3D space. So what will happen? Whoa, where is it? I kind of don't know where I am right now. See, you get confused and like things become so crazy, right? So next thing you know, your cube is here. You see your cube at this other view. You can hit the Z to focus back on. But yeah, it's really far away, so I'm going to delete this. See, that's why you shouldn't create it that way. Okay, yeah, I want to show you the shortcut. Like, let's say in the 3D space you kind of lost, you don't know where you are. You can always hit the Z key to bring you back to the center of the grid of the 0, 0, 0, which is in the middle here. Okay, and yeah, this is it's very handy. So yeah, always create your model on top of the grid like this. Do not look at it this way or any other way. Alright, you can also try and create it on the flat view, right? So in creating it in a flat view is kind of safe, because you will always make sure that it's somewhere around this area. For example, if I create it on the front view, alright, see now it's still somewhere in the middle of the grid. Okay, so just take for example, like the grid space here is like your main guidance in the 3D space, and it's like your table, right? When you want to work on something, you work on a table, right? So just think of it like that. All right. If you want to, let's say, create a cube, or I mean a box, with a standard measurement, all right, you can also do it by keyboard entry. For example, here I can hit the box button here, and then instead of dragging it like this, which I don't know which size I am making, I can just do it like this. Create the box, enable the box tools, and then open the keyboard entry. All right, and then I can type in, let's say, under the length, width and height, let's say I want an equal box, so I can have about, let's say 100 times, I just hit a tab here, so it goes one level down, 100 times 100 millimeters. All right, hit enter. Then if I want to create this, I can just hit the create button down here, and it will create it over there. See, that's the way to create an object by using the keyboard entry features, which you can find it here. So you go cylinders, you also have it here. Even the teapot is, you can have it there as well. All right, so this will ensure that the measurement is 100 by 100 by 100 millimeters. All right, if you, let's say, create it manually, like what I've done here, you can also readjust the scale by going to the modify tool. This is the create tool. Now you go to the modify tool to modify the certain property of this object. So you can see here, these are the measurement, so I can also change it back to 100 by 100 by 100. Right, and I still get the same result as the keyboard entry methods that I've shown you just now. Okay, so let's say now I have a few shapes, right? Okay, so I want to show you how to have a group selection. I'm gonna make more. Let's add a torus here, teapot. Okay, so if I want to select as a group, let's say I just want to select these three, yeah, I can just do like this, right? Drag a square selection. But I can also do like a selection, a group selection based on what I pick. For example, you must hold Control and then just click on the object you want to select. Okay, see, if I click it again, it won't unselect. Let's say if I want to unselect the donut here, right, the torus. So what I can do is hold the alternate instead, and then click to unselect the one I don't want. So just remember Control, by holding Control and select. All right, you are adding to selection, and alternate is to minus selection from the group. Okay, all right, cool. So I'm going to delete all this. Now oh yeah, I forgot about that. I'm going to undo this. About the Z shortcut key, right? If I hit the Z, it will center to the grid. Z is also very useful if you want to center your virtual perspective camera here, or any of this flat camera here, to the object you select. Let's say if I want to focus on the teapot here, all right, let's say I'm a bit far away here and I want to straight away jump to that instead of just manually sorry about that, instead of just manually zooming in, right, zooming into the teapot, adjusting my view like this, I can just quickly jump to my teapot by clicking it by far like that, and then hit the Z key, bam, straight away I zoom into that model. And even my rotation of perspective is based on the center of that object. See, if I select this ball, All right. Let's say if I want to like focus on the donut, the torus, click Z, it will focus to that. Okay, that's a very handy tool. A very handy shortcut like Z is to help you focus on the object you want to work with at a given time, because you will have a lot of objects in your 3D environment, you know, when you're doing your interior design work. All right, I'm going to talk about the layer manager, so which is over here. As you can see, there's a light bulb here and a default. This is a layer, one layer, which is the default layer. Okay. Now if you see there's an arrow here, if you open it, you will see a box, cylinder, sphere, teapot and all. Hey, this is the same object that you can find here, right? And you can even select it from you can even select it from there. See, if I click on the name torus, I am selecting this object over here. If I'm selecting the teapot, see, I'm selecting it from there. I can hold control and select multiple objects from here as well. So that's quite cool and important things to do. I can also rename this to whatever I want. For example, if I want to change the torus to a ring, I can just double click here and then name that a ring. And then the object name is a ring. Alright, so that's the useful thing about it. And another thing that is useful is you see the light bulb here. I can close one by one to hide it. Let's say if I want to hide the teapot, I can just, you know, close the light there and the teapot is not there. I can bring it back like that. Okay, so just the light, that's very useful. But if you look at the hierarchy inside on that top layer there, because everything is inside this layer, the default layer, if I click on the light bulb on the default layer, everything will disappear. But yeah, things like that. Now what else you can do? Let's say I want to separate the teapot to have its own layer, you know, those kind of things. And okay, let's say I want the teapot to have its own layer, not inside the default layer. So I can actually do that. So first I need to create a new layer. So how do I create a new layer? I'm just gonna bring this white edge just like this so I can see this both, right? So you see this one, this is create new layer, right? You can also create new layer by right clicking at this empty space and create layer, alright, which is here. So I'm gonna click this one. This one is for toggle display toolbar. To toggle this one over here, this is like a filter, but right now it's not so important yet, so you can turn it off. So I'm going to create a new layer. So this is just an empty layer. Alright, if I minimize this, you see now I got default layer, and I got, let's say I want to name this as a teapot layer. Okay, now but there's nothing inside there, there's no arrow. So how do I include this teapot inside this layer? It's quite simple actually. Okay, so how do I do that? First I select the teapot. I need to open from the default layer here. I can just drag and drop and put it inside the teapot layer. You see, now the teapot layer if I open, have a teapot, and the rest are still inside the default layer. So now you might be thinking, what's the use of this? It is very, very useful, because in interior design, I mean, you want to like put it into a certain layer. Like for example, doors can all be inside a door layer, the window can be into a window layer, and those kind of things. So it makes it easier for you to manage your object in your 3D scene over here. Right? For example, if I let's say want to hide the teapot, I can just hide this. If I have, you know, imagine this is a door layer, I can, if I want to hide all the doors, I can just, you know, just uncheck that light bulb and it will all be hidden. So it's very useful, and you know, the way to organize your work. Another thing to mention about the layer manager over here is that just now I show you how to create a new layer. Now I'm going to show you how to remove a layer. Alright, so let's say I create some object here, let's say I got 2 box, let's say I got 2 teapot, and say I want to group them together. I want to, like, group them into its own layer. So I will make a new layer and I'll name this as teapot, and then I will also have another layer called the cube, I mean a box. Now both layers are empty, so what you can also, what you can do now is just do a drag and drop. Just drag this both and put it into the box, and the teapot, put it into the teapot layer. So the default layer is now, let's see, let's drag another one here. So the default layer is now empty, there's no more arrow here, but for the box, you have inside here this both box, and the teapot, you got both teapot. Alright, so let's say I were to remove the teapot layer. So how will I do that? Alright, so right now, if I select and right click, there is a delete button over here, but it is gray out. I can't click on it because there's an object inside that layer. So if you want to delete a layer, you have to clear the object inside it. It must have nothing at all. Unlike the default layer, you can never delete that layer. It's like a layer in God mode. You can't touch that. Alright, it will always be there. But the other new layer that you create can be deleted, provided that you remove all the objects inside it. So I will select both of the teapot here and drag and drop inside the default layer back. I'll drag this both. Okay, and now this layer is empty. Alright, but another thing I want to show you here is, if you look at the beside the light bulb on each layer, there's like a layer icon, but you'll see one is blue color and the rest of the two is gray, is white color. It's because this blue color play an important role. This blue color is meaning that you want to select the layer or make the layer, any layer, to be a current active layer. Alright, so right now the box here is a current active layer. I can transfer the active layer into a teapot by clicking it here. See, now the blue shifted over on the teapot layer. If I create a new object, let's say a cylinder, alright, it will straight away go inside that current active layer. See, if I open it now, see the cylinder is now directly created and go inside the teapot layer. Okay, now I'm going to delete the cylinder. So there's nothing inside that layer, right? The teapot layer. So which means I can delete it. But you see, since the layer is, since the teapot layer is the current active layer, when I right click, I cannot delete it, right? I can't delete it because it is an active layer. So I have to transfer the active layer to some other layers like the box, and then now this is not active layer and it's empty inside. I can right click and delete that layer. So that's how you manage your your layers inside the layer manager. Okay, alright, now I'm gonna maximize this view, and this is the last part for this second video, which is transformation. So now that you know how to create this object over here, alright, all these are polygonal model. Regarding the vertex, edge, and polygon, we will go to that in the coming video tutorial even more. But for now, we're gonna stop until the transformation. So how do, let's say you move an object? Now you know how to create. Okay, you can find that main transformation on the main toolbar over here. Okay, so you got your, this is the one, this is the select and move. You can select, and you see there's a gizmo here, this arrow. Alright, then if you use select and rotate. You can select and do rotation. This is the rotation gizmo. If your rotation is too small, or you want to like enhance the scale of resize the scale of your gizmo, you can hit the plus and minus on your keyboard. If you hit plus, see now it becomes really big, but that's really too big. So I'm gonna like hit minus to give it a just nice kind of size for me to work with. Alright, so this kind of size should be fine. And then you have your scale, select and scale to scale your object. All this while we have been using the select object, which is this one over here. So this allows us to just select an object, but we can't do anything. Right? So now let's practice on these three tools. The shortcut for that is Q is for select only. Okay, W is for kind of like move tools, right? And then E is for rotation, and R is for scaling. Alright, okay, let's test the W, which is move. Select the teapot. Okay, what I want to do is I want to move put the teapot on top of the box. Okay, so how do I do it? It's like this. So put your mouse at the arrow. So your arrow is like the arrow here. This is the axis, the X. See the word there, X, Y, and Z. So it's like the pivot here is like a gizmo for your, for example, like you want to drive a car, you need a steering wheel, right? So it's like this is like your steering wheel, which allow you to steer where you want. All right, so if you want to bring this, I want to put it on top of the box. So let's say I need to put it higher. So put my mouse at the Z axis. You see it will highlight in yellow. Click and drag your mouse and bring it up. All right, and then I want to push it over here to the right. Put my arrow on the right arrow here on the X arrow, just move it over there. Okay, but don't forget you are designing in 3D. You need to rotate the view and look at a different angle. See, it's not really straight. Now I put my arrow on the Y and just move it there, and Z to move it down. So something like that. Alright, now I'm placing the teapot really on top of it. Alright, if I select on the torus here, if you look carefully at the pivot here, the arrow, you can also do a combination of see the X and the Y, right, by moving your mouse at the center here. You see now both is highlighted, the X and the Y is highlighted, which allow you to move at around this axis. See, or if you want the Z and the X, which is here, allow you to go up and down, front and back, like that. Okay, all right. You also have a free movement. There's a small square here which allow you to, it's more like a screen base. So where it is actually based on where you look at it. So if I look at it this way, if I put my mouse at that square, I am moving it based on where I'm looking at. So right now it's banging this cylinder. If I adjust this view here, I can just move it like that. So it's a bit freeform, but it's a bit dangerous for beginners if you don't know, if you're not used to it yet. Alright, for now, safest bet, just stick to the arrows here to navigate your model. Okay, now so that is movement. Now let's see about scale, about rotation, sorry. So I'm going to hit the E for rotation, which is this one here. So rotation allows us to rotate on the axis that we want. You see all the rings here. It will show you the direction. If I put it on the green, which is the Y, it's allow me to rotate this way. Alright, or the X on this way, and the Z, basically I'll be spinning the object like that. It's very explainable, self-explanatory. Alright, okay, so now let's see the R for scale. Okay, scale, if you want to scale uniformly to the center, alright, make sure you put your mouse at the center of the axis and scale it. This will retain the shape and form. You are not stretching it, you're not squeezing or stretching it. Scale it uniformly as long as you put your mouse at the center of the gizmo over here. But if you put it at, let's say, one axis, which is the, let's say, the Z axis on top here, you'll be able to squash and stretch the torus here. And now it looks like a barrel, right? Or maybe on the X, see you're squeezing and stretching it. So if you don't want to squeeze or stretch your model while scaling, make sure you put it at the center of that pivot over there. Alright, another thing that to take into account is if you look at the move, rotate and scale is a little bit different. If you look carefully, there's a small arrow down there. Alright, it actually means that if you click and hold it, it will show you a different type of scale, but usually stay away from these two. Alright, you want to use the first one, alright, which is the select and uniform scale, because the rest will kind of like scale it non-uniform and those kind of things. For example, here, if I use this one, it will just be a bit weird. So if you use this one, see, keep on stretching it, it's hard for you to do uniform scale. So be careful with that. Always be mindful of that. So make sure you use the first one. That's the safest one. You might accidentally turn it into a different mode here by, if you hit the R too many times, it will cycle through. You see, if I hit R now, see it cycle to a different one, R to a different icon, R again to different icon. Alright, so be careful with that. If you hit R too much, the shortcut key, it might change that mode. So then you'll be wondering, let's say if you want to try and scale it, let's say here, oh, I want to scale it. Oops, why doesn't it become uniform? Then, you know, you kind of like then have to bother your lecturers and say, hey, why it doesn't work that way? It's actually because you hit R too much, so it uses the select and squash instead. So go back and change the first one, and everything will be peachy and fine. Alright, another thing worth mentioning is your view mode here. So let's see, if you select the object, you start to see a kind of line here, which is, you call it a wireframe, right? But if you unselect, you see a shaded view, just a shaded view of the model. So you can actually change all that by going to the settings over here. If you, right now it is showing realistic. If you click on that, you can just move to shaded view, so you don't have that shadow. You can, you know, realistic will give you that shadow, shaded. Or if you want edge faces, a consistent color will just give you a flat and just focus on the color. So, and then the other one is edge faces. Alright, now if you're on the shaded view, see right now it is said that it is shaded plus edge faces. So see, the edge faces is still selected. I can turn it off if I want to, or I can turn it on. So basically it will give me, even without selecting the model, I can see my shaded view and also the wireframe over here, but based on the color of the model. Right now it's pink, so the line is pink. The shortcut key for that is if you hit F, oh yeah, there's another one here called wireframe, which is down here. This is a wireframe. You can see through your model, right? It can be very handy at times. Or you can just go to the shaded view, right, and have edge faces turn on. Okay, now the shortcut key for all this is very simple. If you hit F3 on your keyboard, F3, so that's wireframe, and if you hit F3 again, it will toggle the shaded view. But while in the shaded view, you can toggle F4 to have the wireframe available or disable. Alright, see, F3 wireframe, F3 again for shaded view, F4 while in shaded view will turn on the wireframe at the same time, or you call it an edge faces. Okay, so yeah, that's a quite important thing to point that out. Alright, so that's it for this video number 2. The next tutorial is going to be continued to video number 3. So I see you guys at video number 3, and thank you for watching, and good day.